it would be very easy to make a mistake and look back at ABBA in the mid-70s and say, well, of course, Waterloo started it off, and it was easy sailing after that. But in fact, although you had Ring Ring come back to be a minor hit in Britain, the biggest record you had written immediately afterwards was Honey Honey, which was covered successfully by Sweet Dreams in this country. Did you, therefore, at any time entertain the notion that you might like to be writers for other people?
No. I think we entertained the notion that the record company had picked the wrong one.
Yes.
That's the follow-up single.
You had a comeback, if we can call it that. You'd been away for about 2 months. With
No, it was longer than that, actually.
Yes, like
the comeback was in
in
75 sometime.
Yes, that's right.
Yeah.
Well, I do. And I'm wondering, and here I have to say the title again, if with I do, and also with Honey Honey, Ring Ring, there is a trend, it seems, towards the use of the same syllables, the same words. Was this something you consciously were into?
You should ask Stig about that, because I do is his title.
I see. Well, an interesting beginning on that one, an interesting intro, actually. Not a rock and roll intro. And I think it's fair to say that in the mid-70s you were doing a lot of things which were not in vogue, and yet were good and successful. Was it ever a factor in your mind, this might not be commercial, but we'll do it anyway?
No, I don't think so. I just feel now that we just wrote and recorded. That's the way I feel.
Yeah. But I mean, what is commercial? How do you know it's commercial or not? That you don't know until afterwards. If you use the word commercial in it for what it is, I mean, what it really means. It's you do something if they like it, if you like it, or they buy it, you buy it, and that's it, right? Then we're on speaking terms. But we can only tell afterwards. I mean, how can we sit down at the piano and the guitar and sort of chat things over and say, how do you think they want this? There's no such thing, as you know, and as everybody knows.
Shortly afterwards, Fernando, which is a milestone in a sense, because it does seem to be a great ballad of international application. Although it does include that line, since many years, I haven't seen a rifle in your hand. Did Tim ever talk to you about that, Tim Rice?
Yes,
it's grammatically wrong.
Yes, that's right. Yes.
But then you should know that we checked it with certain British citizens. They didn't spot that. And very few people did, I think.
Since many years I haven't seen a rifle in your hand.
We tend to always think, in every country that we are living, that is where the action is, that is where the most important part of an artist's career must be to them. That's certainly an American syndrome, and I know that British people will think, well, 3 number 1s in a row, Mamma Mia, Fernando, Dancing Queen. And yet, what about to you? For example, I know that you played Dancing Queen at the marriage of royalty in Sweden.
Yeah.
Now, what matters most to you? Did that matter most to you, for example, in that number?
No.
No.
I mean, playing for the royal family, no. Not to me, anyway.
No.
Maybe to you.
No.
You knew some things not to do?
Oh, yes. Yes. You learn how to pay your taxes, for example.
Which was a hip star's problem.
Yes. It's easier, if not easy, but it's still easier to spot a crook. And, well, many small things. I mean, the Hep Stars were very successful in Scandinavia for 3, 4, 5 years. And I was very young. And obviously, I mean, there is, if you're successful, you're successful. It doesn't really matter if you're successful only in Sweden or only in Scandinavia or only in the UK or only in Europe or only in the world. I mean, there's no difference, which I think helps a lot.
Mm.
It's not like waking up from one night to another when you're 18, 19 years old and all of a sudden you're world famous. I think it helps if you've done your sort of 15 years.
Mamma mia, here I go again, my.
As writers for ABBA, you always had to choose which girl would be suitable for the lead vocal. Was that something that was done after you'd written the song?
Yes.
Yeah.
And there were difficulties sometimes. If one was 3 songs up on the album and
Yes.
the other one didn't have one yet,
Yes.
we didn't have a choice then, you see. No, but there were more or less equal amount of songs to each of them on every album.
May I ask you in retrospect what you thought the strong points of each were in interpreting different types of songs? Tough question.
It's a very tough question.
I'd say Agnetha is more the interpreter of what she's doing, and Frida is more the natural singer. I think if we can see all the singles that we've had, I think it's must be equal. They have 50% each, and there are no big successes that Frida has had that Agnetha hasn't had, or the opposite. I mean, it is.
Yeah.
But they are different,
But it's a tough question.
and especially they are different in range. Because Frida is a mezzo soprano, or yes, and Agnetha is a true soprano in range, which means they have sort of like a 2 or 3 notes between, which is great if you want to do harmonies, vocally harmonies.
And which sometimes took care of the problem because it was too high for one of them or too low for the other.
Money, 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 and Knowing Me, Knowing You were also like Dancing Queen from the Arrival album. Money, Money, Money reminding me of a German cabaret song.
Yeah.
Had you been interested in that type of music?
In musicals, yes. Already then.